This next conversation is all about welfare in the emergency services, and I've got three great people here to talk to us about it. So we've got Joel Nash, the RRT regional leader for the south of England. We've got Paul Staples, the station manager of National Resilience, and we've got Sian Allen, the PR and comms manager of RRT. So thank you very much for being with us. So first off, Joel, let's start with you. Can we discuss the current problems and solutions within the emergency services sector? And first off, how does fatigue affect the sector?
That's an excellent question, Ella, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So I guess fatigue in emergency services, as with many other critical issues, isn't discussed enough. It's such a vital issue, I believe, in the emergency services today. And I'm so glad to be here with the others to discuss this with you.
I think one of the main things that fatigue affects is when the emergency services, first responders such as fire, police officers, when they're out on long shifts, their fatigue skyrockets. Obviously, long shifts and that, they don't actually know when they can get a rest quite often.
Yeah, and I think with the broader topic of welfare, it's not just nutritional sustenance. It's not just being able to be fed long duration incidents. It's also that extended duration of working, the fatigue on the body, the fatigue on the mind, the mental well-being of the firefighters that are at the scene of operations. So, welfare is quite a broad topic. So, having been in the fire service for 22 years, worked at a firefighter level, I do have that understanding of when you are at extended operational incidents, the impact it does have on your welfare and that broad term.
I was going to say, I think that's a really good point. And I guess this venue will be full of witnesses today, wouldn't it, of people that know that in a high stakes situation, things can go wrong quickly. Small mistakes, fatigue can make a big impact on the situation they're there to handle.
Yeah, and I was speaking to a few earlier, and it was not just actually the first responders that fatigue affects. It's actually the control rooms as well. They're 24/7 responding to calls, trying to keep everything calm in there, and actually fatigue is a massive thing for them as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
So you mentioned fatigue, and that, of course, is going to have an impact on mental health. What work are you doing around mental health, John?
Yeah, so some of the problems that we've discussed, we've got a few solutions, and there is some happening at the moment in the fire services and other first responders, like mental health helplines and mental health days and awareness. One of the things that RRT actually does at the moment, or have started doing, is our Construction Community Connect campaign, where we focus on the construction sector, as that's the highest sector for suicides at the moment. 2 workers take their life every single day. And so we wanted to do something to help. And so we kind of have partnered with various mental health charities that basically act as a draw card to attend major construction sites across the UK to serve barista grade coffee and a Krispy Kreme donut to kind of attract them, so that they can sit down, have a coffee and a Krispy Kreme and talk with the mental health charities and just say, like, are you okay? Just ask them questions, remove the stigma, help them get access. And we're kind of trying to bring that initiative into the emergency services sector as well, hoping to do that so we can kind of raise more awareness as well in that. But Joe, did you have anything on that?
No, that's good, Sean. And I think really just to echo your comments as to how important partnerships are for us within the RRT. And I'd like to particularly highlight the great work that the British Red Cross and the Salvation Army do in these sectors as well, and have been for many, many years in these ongoing scenarios that we find ourselves facing.
Yeah, just to add from my own personal experiences and then experiences as a manager as well, I don't think we can overstate or underestimate the importance of mental health and well-being within fire service and the wider emergency sector.
And how have emergency response scenarios, have they kind of changed over time? Joel, we'll maybe start with you.
No, I think that's good. I guess RRT is known for adapting to different situations, and we obviously work alongside many emergency services across the country, and I think we can see over time, over the last 10 years, I guess, how things have changed. Paul, you'd be very experienced in...
Yeah, so my current role at the moment for National Resilience, we look after capabilities that cover national emergencies. And over the last 20 years, we can certainly see data with different types of emergencies that are coming in. So the obviously associated ones of fires and car crashes, everyone's aware of, but wildfires, large-scale flooding, significant events, high-rise, flats, different types of emergencies that firefighters are now responding to due to climate change, things of that nature. still have that impact, and they're normally a longer duration incident. So the fatigue and the well-being on the firefighters is more greatly affected going forward.
Paul, do you want to share that interesting story you're speaking about drowning incidents and how the fire service actually have to deal with them when there's obviously changing conditions of climate change and how you have to respond to obviously more drowning incidents?
Yeah, so it's a good point. So the fire service, they don't actually have a statutory duty to respond to water rescue incidents, but they do for obvious reasons, because who else is going to respond? And we don't want to put that onto other emergency services, but also the general public. And when we talk about in a larger welfare aspect, is that we can't provide that subsurface rescue in water rescue incidents, but there's also that emotional draw. We're all human beings. We all have our families. We all have our loved ones. So that natural wanting to help the general public to resolve those emergencies is always going to be there with a first responder. So it's being exposed to those risks that maybe they're not necessarily used to, but will always respond to, and the mental well-being and anguish that will cause for those operators.
I guess one of the other things that we were talking about, wasn't it, is changing things is new technology. That's often helped a lot of fire stations, obviously, because it reduces the manpower and also boosts the morale because you've got more time to rest, the fatigue. But you're saying that some of the fire stations actually don't have access to that new technology, so it's kind of that.
Yeah, so we've got around 50 fire services in England and Wales, and obviously they have their own governance and they have their own equipment. They have their own what we call community risk management plan, which looks after the specific emergencies or specific hazards and emergencies that I have to respond to in their service. Technology is playing a massive part in assisting reducing the exposure of firefighters to these risks. So we're definitely seeing the advancements of technology having that benefit of welfare, because we're able to have equipment and technology do some of the work that normally firefighters would have had to have done themselves.
And since the pandemic, so Paul, has the emergency response approach changed within the firefighters and the NFCC?
Well, I think, a very good question, and I think it would be totally remiss not for a sector to, reflect on their response to a pandemic. Certainly, there's going to be learning that's come out of that and pre-planning that's going to go through in case, God forbid, we ever do have to go through an incident of that case. So, yes, it has improved, it has changed. We do things differently than we did before, as every service would do from a natural learning experience.
Would you say you're more preparing for another pandemic, or are you?
Definitely, our emergency response and planners are going to be more prepared, more well prepared.
And then from your experience as a firefighter, so how would you rate the quality of nutrition for firefighters?
I would say that the responsibility of welfare for firefighters falls firmly on their own individual services. With my own sort of experiences within my own service, very good. The range and broad staff and that we get through now as coming through as firefighters have different needs than maybe 20 years ago. So dietary requirements, different types of food to fit in with their own religious regions, things of that nature. That's now something that's being catered for within fire services in terms of risk assessing. These people are working for our workforce now. It's a more diverse workforce, so we definitely need to cater for those people.
And that's, I guess, when RRT comes in. Working with nutritionists, we've kind of developed a basic 24/7 menu that can be suited to crises to help out firefighters, police, all first responders. But Joel, you would have experience in the operational field of how our menu has adapted, like Paul was saying, for different people, different 20 years on.
No, it's good, Sean. It's a subject that's very close to our heart, isn't it? And I guess as with any progressive organisation, RRT has been studying this, and we're constantly learning, aren't we? Every day is a learning day. And as we attend these large-scale events, these scenarios that we find ourselves supporting at, whether it be an earthquake in Christchurch, whether it be the Grenfell Tower fire, whether it be an avalanche in Italy, you name it, we've been to numbers of these events. We can see firsthand on the ground, can't we, how critically important nutrition and a good meal and a good hot drink or cold drink, obviously, is to these guys and girls who are serving.
Yeah, it leads onto the coffee part as well, which we were discussing earlier. how often we've sort of said a quality coffee goes further than anything else when you're a firefighter, and you need that extra boost, that morale boost, isn't it? Even.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's a substitute for a hot cup of coffee or tea when you've needed it at 2 o'clock in the morning, definitely.
Yeah. And what kind of goes into the back end of that, sort of making it a sustainable solution to be nutritious and filling?
Yes. So obviously from our experience of going to all these events and different times of the day, different scenarios, even protracted long events that are 3 weeks even, we've kind of developed, obviously we've got our standard original signature burger meal, but we can't serve burger meals every day if we're protracted for 3 weeks. So we've kind of got a range of things like paninis, wraps, soup, that kind of thing, where we've had to adapt. And even in, for example, cold weather, we can't serve ice creams. You know what I mean? So that's why we've kind of got the hot drinks, the coffees, but also recently in the riots in the police force, we kind of actually went round, it was the hottest day, 34 degrees, and we actually went round serving ice creams to 3 police stations in London. And that was just how you have to adapt. And the experience even we've learnt from that, and that was only a couple of months ago, of having to adapt and actually meet the needs, because we want to help the police officers. We want to give them as a boost and a morale boost, and not just something that's kind of like basic.
And how have you found being at the Emergency Services show? Is it an important date in the diary for you in particular?
Yes, yeah, I think it's always a good opportunity to interact with fire services, first responders, and actually create awareness of RRT and discuss things like this and how we can improve, how we can support them more, and yeah, just raising awareness of our products as well, and our services is really good. But
That's good. And it is that raising awareness, I feel, because we're known for, as Sian says, our signature burger, but there's so much more to RRT and the products we can offer. And just getting out here, you know, we've been around 10 years, but there's so many people that don't know about us. So it's always good to network and learn.
Spread the message.
Absolutely right.
Lovely. Well, thank you to all 3 of you for joining us. It's been really, really interesting. Keep doing what you're doing.